why they wanted a vote before I left in July. And I'm glad we've had the opportunity, because I passed a bill. All these 1,000-page bills, trillion-dollar deals, they put the bill late at night, and then the next day they expect us to vote. So I'm excited personally that we've got some time to have everybody have some input into the process, because it's not just that the congressmen read the bill. The people need to read the bill. Yeah. So let me just say, myself and Ron Paul introduced the bill that's going to give people and make sure members and people have an opportunity to respond. And that's part of this debate. I hear your points, and let's get some other points in there. Thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, Vern.
Hey, how you doing?
I appreciate your openness to caring. I'm one of those that has to pick up the pieces for those who can no longer afford.
Can you speak up a little bit? I just want to make sure everybody can hear.
I have the responsibility because they come to our door, our churches, and we are compassionate for that. Those who have lost their care and had excuses. And I have heard your questions yesterday or the day before about the economics that would help this situation. And my secondary health care after Medicare is United Healthcare. And one of the ways that you could get some economics is the CEO of United Healthcare, for every $7 that I pay for healthcare, he gets one of those dollars. CEOs are getting paid entirely too much. My wife on May 1st fell and broke her pelvis. And we didn't know all the extra costs that were involved in that. But the point of that is that we received, after she got home from the rehab and from the hospital before that, and the transportation in between, we got a dozen bills after Medicare, after the secondary United Healthcare, of over $1,500 from many different sources. One of the ways you can save costs is to have one billing for all of those costs, have that in a one-payer plan, because it will help those who come to us with the greatest need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congressman, in addition to the 700 people we have here in the auditorium, I'm told we now have 700 people in the cafeteria as well. And many of them have submitted questions to be responded to by you. Here's one. How can Congress justify more spending when we have to borrow 43 cents currently for every dollar spent, with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all underwater? You have a moral obligation to get those programs funded first.
And I agree. Let me say to you, and I feel bad we got so many out there, but some of the ladies said, how can I make a difference? By being here, it's making a difference. But, okay. Okay, I got off on the tangent. But let me just say, as it relates to, what was the question, Sally, real quick?
The question is, how can Congress justify more spending when we have to borrow now to meet our current obligations?
Let me just tell you, in looking at health care reform, the reality, the harsh reality, is the deficit this year is $2 trillion. $2 trillion. Now, I'm not going to put that on one person or another, but I will tell you this. In the last 45 years, we've balanced the budget 4 times. That's why the original concept, the only way I'm convinced we can balance the budget, in my first week there, was to ask for a balanced budget amendment. But when you look at the $2 trillion deficits, and we're going to run trillion probably plus next year, but $2 trillion this year, the overall debt in the country is going to be 13 trillion, and the interest on the debt, I think last year, $462 billion. every generation, I think, my parents, left it better for the next generation. Now, you take into account where we're at financially, and I will just say the city of Bradenton, Manatee County, and the state don't spend more than they take in. But we've got a problem up there. Now, you take into account the demographics in the country. First baby boomer, 62 this year. 78 million to follow. We've got these commitments to veterans, disabled veterans, Social Security, Medicare. We better make sure we get this right with all those dynamics playing out. And let me just say, to me, this isn't about Democrat, Republican. This is about doing what's right for America and Americans. Danny?
Vern, I would like to thank you very much for being here to listen to what we have to say, because it's so important. I feel it's a very American thing to do, to be here in the audience and for you. I can tell you right now that people will say, if you don't think that socialistic medicine works, go there and live there and see. It's great. I lived in England for 3 years, and every British subject that I talked to said that they did not like their health care service. It was terrible. There were people who went without, and it was like a lottery. And I can tell you right now that as a school teacher, I used to teach my children to read for the implicit and explicit information in what they were reading. And I implore you to do the same.
Yeah. Let me add one thing, and I might be wrong on this, but and maybe most of you know this. 50%, I've been told, of all health care is in the last 6 months of someone's life. I think that's a reality. Okay? 50% of all health care is in the last 6 months of one's life. The way that most of these programs, I understand, in industrialized nations work, they rationalize, they ration what they're going to do and not do for their senior citizens in their country. I'm against that. Sally? Is it Danny? Okay, yes,
Vern,
sir.
my name is Harold, and I just came back from where our country was founded up in Virginia. Picked up 2 flags. One of them said, "Don't tread on me," and the other one said, "Unite or die." I have read some of the health care bill on page 58 where it says the government will have a real-time access to individuals' finances. A national ID health card will be issued, and on page 59, lines 21 through 24 state, the government will have direct access to our bank accounts for elective funds transfer, and on page 195 it states that officers and employees of the Health Care Administration, the government, will have access to all America's finances and their personal records. I believe that you're the one that can help us to unite rather than die so that we don't tread on us. Thank you.
Hello, Vern. I'm what you call a legal immigrant. After many years of trying to get into the U.S., I got a green card in 1988, became a citizen and a voter as fast as I could. Now, one of the things I was running away was lack of freedom. Now, people look at Canadians and think, oh yeah, they're just like us. Well, when you look at freedom from outside the country for most of your life, you see it in a way that people that are born and raised here don't see it. It's like fish looking at water. You know, it looks different from the outside. And a lot of the people I grew up with have suffered terribly. Many have died because of the healthcare system in Canada. The stories are so bad, people I talk to don't even believe them. But it's true. People lay and die because their heart catheter is scheduled 6 months from now, or their cancer surgery is scheduled in a year or 8 months. I've lost friends as recently as this year and last year, and it is illegal in Canada to go to another doctor, and even if you were wealthy, take the money out of your pocket and pay the doctor. That is illegal. You'll both end up in jail. Even Prime Minister Harper of Canada, who needed treatment 2 years ago in Ottawa, couldn't get it, jumped a plane, went to Burlington, Vermont, got treated, and went back to Ottawa. Without the U.S., Canadians have nowhere to go for treatment. Don't let that happen here.
Thank you. Let me just say thanks for your comment. It's great the fact you're a legal citizen. One of the big things is we've got to look at the bill because there's a lot of questions on that. Last year or the year before, we spent $1.7 billion in Florida for illegal citizens for benefits. Schools, different things. And so that's something we've got to look at. My grandparents were from Finland as legal citizens. But again, we're going to deal with health care and then immigration. And I also just want to say that I was one of the original co-sponsors for making English the official language. Yes, sir.
This bill is 1/6 of our economy. Why do we have to rush it through? Why don't we get it right? If we get something wrong, it's going to destroy our country.
Could you pull the mic up a little bit, sir, just a little bit so they can hear you? Make that point again.
I said, why do we have to rush this bill through? This is 1/6 of our economy. If we get it wrong, we're in a mess. We'll be a banana republic. We can't continue this without getting this thing right the first time. We need to take our time and find out, make sure we get it right.
I just wanted to, yeah, sir, I just want to compliment the gentleman. I do think he's absolutely right. We've got to get it right because if we don't, it's a big price that we'll pay. Danny? Yeah, right over here, sir. Okay.
Thank you, Vern, for being here.
Thank you.
I am a capitalist. I am a conservative, and I am a cancer patient. And I am very, very afraid. Please do everything you can to not let this go through. Please.
I'd like to see one of our younger guys. You play for the White Sox?
What's that? No, I play baseball at Manatee Community College.
Great.
President Obama pretty much said that public and government-run industries are more efficient. He said that when he when he was talking about the post office compared to FedEx and UPS. So how can we support a bill that's completely run by the government? How is that going to be efficient compared if Social Security is already going under, Medicare's on the outs, and all those programs are all government run? How can we support something else that's government run when it's been proven inefficient?
Good afternoon, Vern. I had an accident almost 2 years ago, and I guess by this new plan I will be rationed out because I'm young and I'm discardable. I won't be able to work. I won't be able to be productive in the way that I used to be. I don't know if they'll find something for me to be able to do. I willingly do it. But from what I understand, there's several pages, and I have them all cited here. I could cite them all to you, how they're going to ration the health care.
Give me your big two.
Well, they say...
We'll take the page two. We'll look at it.
They say on page 239, lines 14 to 24, that the government will reduce the physician services for Medicaid, seniors, low income, and the poor will get hit hardest. Well, I fit into two of those categories. And on page 29, lines 4 to 16, it says that health care will be rationed. Each person will only get so much care. The operations they say I need will cost almost $500,000. And then it's not even sure that it'll actually make me well. So how does, you know, I'm going to be discardable if under this plan.
Not with me or not. We're going to work together.
Hi, Vern. Thanks a lot for coming. You know, I mean, I think what we're all trying to say is this is personal. You know, I think that's why we're all so riled up. You know, this is not just taxes. This is not just, this is personal. This is our personal business, and we don't want the government in it. This is our health care, and we don't want them in it. So I think, you know, what we want to know is, you know, we know the Republicans really don't have any power anymore in Washington. The Democrats have complete control. And we want to know, what can you guys do? I mean, can you do a walkout? What can you do? You've got to come up with a plan. It's got to be something different. It's got to be out of the box. It's got to be something unique, but you've got to come up with something, because otherwise they're going to pull out the nuclear option, they're going to pull out something, and they are going to be in our personal business, and we don't want them there. So we got to figure out something to do.
Let me say that they do have control in the House. They do have control 60 votes in the Senate, and of course the president's Democratic from that standpoint. But more powerful, the three most important powerful words is we the people. And I'll tell you right now, a week ago Sunday, 2 weeks ago Sunday, the Speaker wanted to take the House, before we left for recess, wanted to vote on the floor. The people spoke. Then, a week or so later, last week they announced they're looking at eliminating the public option. The people spoke. It's about we, the people. I work for the people. Right. There you go.
Vern, thank you for coming. I appreciate, I follow you pretty much on your newsletter.
Hold it to you a little bit closer.
And I appreciate what you're doing in Congress and agree with just about everything you've said so far. But I got a little different twist. You got plenty of questions about the health care. But Americans and Christians across America have been severely restricted by law as to where we can pray or even use the word God and Jesus Christ. This was caused by a handful of atheist and liberal judges and so forth. President Obama is now using our pulpits across America to spread his political agenda. And what are you doing? We've heard no outcry from any of the ACLU or the other people that has taken our rights away from us. So we as Christians are taught by the Bible to obey the law of the land. But Obama has chosen to ignore those laws, so why should we not have the same privilege to ignore the laws that he ignores? Thank you. Thank you.
I think most of us are here today because of the health care plan, but more important to me is there was a sign here, and I think it was pull the plug on Congress. My biggest fear is this plan was 2 days in my mind from getting run through. I know you said it was we the people, but until some media folk, some talk radio, until this got out to everyone, it could have been a bill. And I don't think our Congress really got the message until this just started to happen. And I don't think it's our job. I think it's your job. So I respect the fact that you're for making a change. Cap and trade got rammed through. Everything just gets done now. We have no clue. We have no idea what's going on. And without somebody standing up there, we're going to get more of this kind of stuff. So maybe we have to do this all the time. Maybe we should go to Washington.
Come on. Let me mention to the young lady is you're right. If you look at TARP, stimulus, all of them, I got them the night before, and then they want you to commit the next day to $1 trillion commitment to our kids. And I think part of the reason that this got held up is because a lot of blue dog Democrats, and I came in with a lot of the blue dog Democrats. There was 13 Republicans in 06. There was 41 blue dog Democrats. Most of them were conservatives in districts like Indiana and others. And they got jammed on the cap and trade. And when this came up, they said, let's take the time and let the American people participate, and let's take the time to read the bill. So it was bipartisan to some extent that we got this pushed, and we've got more time to deal with it. So I want to give them some credit.
Up on the stage.
Yes, sir.
Vern, I'd like to thank you for hosting this meeting and manning up and doing that. I appreciate that. I just want to say a couple things.
The manning up, I wasn't sure.
No, manning up.
Oh, manning up.
Yes, sir,
Okay.
manning up, because some people aren't doing that. And I'd like to say I'm more proud right now to be an American citizen than I've been for a long time. I'm looking out, I'm seeing a lot of people, and this is taking part in the process, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm glad you facilitated that. I have read a lot of the H.R. 3200, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I won't say that I am.
I'm in that club, so.
Okay, you can appreciate that. And but what I've read is a lot of it's very confusing. There's a lot more in there than just health care. And what I found, the more I read, some of it was confusing to me. But what worried me was some of the things I understood. Some of the things I understood were a bit very concerning and somewhat frightening of what I read. And one of the things, too, is I believe that a lot of the congressmen, because this was being jammed through in the beginning, didn't even take the time to read it. I believe that, and they've admitted to that.
That's the truth.
Right.
That's the truth.
Right.
I mean, 3,200 pages, you're like, or 1,100 pages, you're like me, I'm a slow reader. So, I mean, it takes some time to get through it. But my point is, you're right. Many of these bills, they haven't had a chance to read.
Right, and it's almost inconceivable that somebody could read that quickly. And some people, I've heard some statements of congressmen saying that they've even had their aides read it and say, well, what are your thoughts? Well, I don't think I want those guys making decisions. And I tell you what, the sad thing is, even if some of these guys and ladies did read it, they probably wouldn't understand it either. So, so I just want to, one thing that this debate has done for us, it's made us realize at least one thing, that our parents, grandparents, everybody's told us that if you don't have your health, you've got nothing. And that's what we've realized. So I just want to hold up a sign. I'm going to just add a little levity to this. I think we should have more Groucho and less Carl. Yeah. Okay? Thank you.
Sally?
We have another question from the cafeteria. How can we be sure...
Okay, hold up. Go ahead, Sally.
Another question from the cafeteria. How can we be sure that the co-ops being considered in lieu of the public option are not really a Trojan horse sticking us with a public option under another name?
The co-ops, and I'll be candid about it. I probably speak my mind a lot, everything, but on the co-ops, it's something, they've been around a long time, not as relates as much to health care, but it's a nonprofit. It's something we have to aggressively take a look at, and I'm going to be studying that in the next week or two, but it's, I think it could be somewhat of a viable option. I think the public option, I think is going to be a tough issue coming up in September, because I think to some extent they realize that the people are engaged, the people are reading the bill, they don't like what they see, and so I think they're going to be looking for public options as well as figuring a way to cut cost. So I think that's the big thing. Danny? Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
Hi, Vern. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for allowing us to come and to voice our opinions. I want to tell you where I was yesterday morning. Yesterday morning I was laying on a table, and that table was in Lakewood Ranch Medical Center, and I had 3 stents put in my heart with the finest facility in this area. And I'm living proof. Here I am walking in here today. It was paid for mostly by Medicare, some by United Healthcare. My additional, is that the best system in the world? No, it's not. We have a lot of waste. And there's just one little thing that I think everybody will agree with, that maybe, you know, maybe grandma does need a chair to get around her house, but when I see that ad on TV that says you can get a mobile thing and you don't have anything invested in it, and we're spending millions and millions of dollars on mobile chairs for people that really don't need them because somebody puts that ad on TV. We need common sense in Washington. If you buy a 10-year life insurance policy, you pay X amount every year for 10 years, all right? Health care ought to be the same way. It shouldn't be every year it changes and changes. There ought to be a contract. The pool would be huge. And I know that Americans, entrepreneurs, will do it. They can make money. Stop. Fix what we've got going on now. Fix Medicare. Solve the problems. Earn our respect. And then we will succeed.
There you go. Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you again for holding this meeting, and I'd also like to say thank you for kind of quieting the crowd down and letting this gentleman speak over here and finish what he had to say, even though everybody doesn't necessarily
We're all
agree with
Americans, and everybody has a right.
Absolutely. Thank you. My name is Sage Hall. I am a uninsured small business owner. I was born with a problem with my kidneys. Luckily, my father was in the military, so I had excellent care growing up, and for the last 20 years, I have been just fine. I have no options now. If I'm honest with the insurance companies about my past, even though I've been fine, they are going to charge me rates that I can't afford. I just can't. I need a public option. Is there anything that you can offer that will solve this problem, that will allow me to get health care?
Yeah,
Even though I have a past history, I have a pre-existing condition?
You know, we need to be able to deal with that where it's available and affordable for you regardless of pre-existing conditions. We've got to work through that. That's an American right in my mind. So on that basis, I'm with you. Thank you.
Yes, it's an American right to have health care.
Vern, Thad, I appreciate you being here and giving us all this opportunity. I have several issues. I'm going to be real short, just little bullets on them. Health care, no split bill, no shenanigans. Help health care, don't ruin it. Otherwise, the answer is no. Stimulus and TARP, repeal. Cap and trade. Will the real expert please stand up? Czars. Aren't they Russian? Illegal immigrants. What's so difficult? The laws are in place. Secure the borders. No amnesty. ACORN, no funding, no census. And investigate. Growing government control. We want the government out of our lives, not in our lives. And what we have is an arrogant extremist. Corporate bailouts, sink or swim. Straight talk, that's what we want, but is it possible? Cash for clunkers, clunk. Actually, we're better off when Washington is on vacation. I think we all believe that government is basically inept and have their own agendas. Isn't it really we the government and not we the people? Maybe the government should move to Guantanamo.
I don't know that I disagree with much on that. Especially moving them to Gitmo. You know what I mean?
Okay, unfortunately, we're getting very short on time. We'll take this question and then one more, and we'll have to wrap it up.
Thank you. Congressman Buchanan, thank you for being here today, because I know a lot of your fellow congressmen and senators are in hiding because they refuse to meet with their constituents on this volatile subject. But what I want to say today is that a government, when the government fears the people, there's liberty. And when the people fear their government, there's tyranny. Now, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Thomas Jefferson said it. One of the founders of our country 233 years ago. And he said a lot of other good things, like we are endowed with certain unalienable rights. The meaning of unalienable being they cannot be taken away, whether by a Congress or a president who may think he has the power to do so. But the American people will not allow that to happen. That being said, thank you. Thank you. Liberty! Liberty! Liberty!
Thank you.
I have a suggestion and a comment on health care. Why, first of all, are we trying to fix part of the system when 80% of the people in the United States are satisfied with their health care? In an economic climate that's been the worst in 50 years, with a Federal Reserve spending money like a drunken sailor, devaluing our currency year after year after year, and we're trying to spend $1 trillion, and your own Congressional Budget Office said, we don't have the money for this thing. We can't do it. I have a suggestion, and I'm going to close out with this suggestion. I would like, and we'll pay for it, like we pay for everything else you fellas do in Congress, whether it be jets or going on excursions to this country or that country. All 535 members. And if you can ask Obama, he may not want to agree to come with you, but go down and stand in front of the Independence Hall in Philadelphia like my son and I did this past summer, and stand there and have your picture taken and send it to all your constituents and say, this is what America stands for. This is where it started, and we will not let it go or let some despot overrun us. Thank you.
Last question, sir. Last question. Everyone needs to exit when you do after this question very carefully, and you can go out that way to the parking.
Let me say, I will be around for 15, 20 minutes. Anybody wants to talk to me on an issue, and we'll get some people out. We won't be able to get everybody out at the same time, but I'll be available for a little bit. So go ahead.
Thanks, Vern. I just want to know, because like that lady said and the mom said here, you're there. We're putting you there. We're paying you a lot of money that I wish you're paying me to be there to do the job. You have to get it done. We have all kinds of opinions here, good and for and against today. But you are going to get it done. And the only way, there's signs over there, Medicare for all. Well, it costs money. The only way the government's going to get money is by collecting taxes. The only way they're going to get taxes is by people working to pay those taxes. People don't have jobs. People don't have jobs in Sarasota. They don't have jobs in Florida. We live in Sarasota. We don't live in France, Canada, England, Sweden, wherever. We live here. We love it here. We want to work here. We want to contribute to the tax base here. What are you doing to get jobs in Florida? That's the first part question. Second part question is my grandma.
Come on, Grandma. What do you got?
I just want to say I just recently got a kidney transplant, and I'm concerned that if this health plan was if it was now, I probably wouldn't have got a transplant because they'd say I was too old, or the medicine is too expensive, or the operation too expensive. And another thing I want to say, I'm concerned that this is going to increase the abortions that we're already having millions and millions of babies being murdered.
Let me just say, in closing a little bit, I'm going to stand with the seniors, and I don't want any compromises on seniors. We need to find a way to be more efficient, eliminate the fraud, waste, and abuse. The other thing I want, the gentleman, I am, my sense in the last 7 months, I've been in business for 30 years. I'm the only member of Congress on the Small Business Administration. Small business creates 70% of all the jobs in America. 99% of all companies listed up in Tallahassee are small businesses. The talk since the beginning of the year, and I respect the president, I differ on things, but the talk has been about the economy and jobs. And we were supposed to, with a stimulus, $800 billion plus interest, $1 trillion that we're leaving to our kids. We were supposed to create jobs. We've lost 3 million jobs. And my point is, again, I'm one of 535, as many have pointed out, but I try to put my focus every day on the economy, jobs, and the working class people, because Manatee and Sarasota County had 3% unemployment. We got 12, 13. We've got to get the economy going. I would have liked to have seen the stimulus bill, instead of having 3% for small business, have half of it. I got in front of the SBA administrator the other day. I said, instead of giving small business that creates most of the jobs in Manatee and Sarasota County, who can't get loans today, that need money, instead of $24 billion, you've already got the stimulus, let's move it to $100 billion through the SBA that can be administered for the banks. So that's, I think, is the key issue that we need to be focused on. We're focused on 24 things. I've told the president, we need to focus on the economy and jobs. The American people are hurting. And so that's where I continue to fight every day. We are making progress in terms of the SBA. And let me just say in closing, it's nice to be called a congressman. I've been very blessed. I've done more than I imagined as a blue-collar kid. I'm doing this because I was concerned, my sons are here somewhere, 24 and 26, about the debt we were running up in this country. I couldn't imagine. I didn't like what the Bush administration did in terms of the debt. I couldn't imagine, now we're $2 trillion deficit this year. That's crazy. I'll leave you with a closing story. 8 months ago, I had a bill. They had a bill on the floor. $15 billion. This is how far out of touch they are and why it's so important you're involved. They had a bill on the floor 8 or 9 months ago. Aid to Africa. And that's important to some extent. You can say no foreign aid or whatever. We're getting them $15 billion. Now, you might say, you might give them a 3% increase, or 5%, or cut them 10%. A lot of companies have had to cut 30% of their expenses last year. Almost every Democrat and half the Republicans voted for it. We went from $15 billion to $50 billion. And I thought, this is crazy. That's how out of touch they are in Washington and why it's so important. So here's the reality. I told my friends, Republican Democratic friends, I told them, I said, we're going to go borrow that money from China. And we're going to give it to Africa. Why don't you just have China give it to Africa? I've benefited, as a lot of us have who have been entrepreneurs. This is the greatest place on the planet, but I am for less government. I am for less taxes. I am for less spending. What makes America great, in my opinion, my grandparents came from Finland. What makes it great, so many immigrants do so well here. The gentleman just said it back there. They do so well here. Why? They're coming from an oppressed situation. I've traveled, I know. They're coming from an oppressed situation. They're coming to America. Their mindset is, you work hard, you play by the rules, anything's possible in America. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Okay? There's no such thing as a free lunch. You want to get a free lunch, you get it in another country. But that's not what America is about. Now, I'm not saying we don't have a responsibility to disabled veterans or people that are disabled. Government does have a role to that extent. But everybody that can work and get a job needs to go to work and get a job and participate. Everybody's got to pull the wagon. So America is still the best place on the planet. I appreciate you fighting as you do every day. It's important. And like I said, it's nice I tell people that be called a congressman, I guess, but at the end of the day, I'm a representative. I'm working for you. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America.